Sam Altman had 770 employees, threatened to resign if he wasn't reinstated as CEO because of this one thing that every entrepreneur needs. The law of influence states that the accurate measure of leadership is your ability to influence others, nothing more, nothing less. To understand influence, it's important to note 8 things. Influence grows over time. It expands beyond your direct circle. Relationships are at the core of influence. Character is key. Communication is important. Adaptability increases influence. Influence requires continuous learning, and you're constantly empowering others when you're seeking to influence them. The board may have had the power to fire Sam Altman, but positional authority doesn't compare with true influence. If you want 770 employees to back you when the going gets tough, dive into those 8 things and learn to truly influence the people around you. Alright, so when we're learning how to be like Sam Altman, a CEO that had 770 employees threatened to resign if he wasn't brought back, we need to go over the 8 factors I just mentioned, and I'm going to take a deep dive into each one of them. So the first one, influence grows over time. You don't just come into somebody's life and within a month have huge influence over them. At least that's not typically how it happens. In Young Life, we used to say this thing, earn the right to be heard. And that earning the right to be heard was loving people, bearing burdens with them, being there for them, and just that unconditional positive regard over a long enough time so that they value your opinion. You have to give them a reason to value your opinion, and that typically comes, from my experience, with showing up for them, not judging them, loving them, empowering them, trusting them, and being a person that is trustworthy, right? And sharing some vulnerability as well. And so there's just a lot of things that need to happen in the relationship for your influence to grow over time. And if you try to condense that into a small amount of time, it'll seem unnatural, and it'll also seem like you're trying to manipulate or extract something from them. And it's very important that they know you're there for them first and foremost, and that happens over time. In my opinion, maybe somebody has figured out a way to make it happen faster, but I think influence does grow over time, and I've experienced it in Young Life, at work, with family, with friends. It's just everywhere around us. Our influence over people grows over time. It expands beyond your direct circle, and this is really the word of mouth thing in business. Like when you build a lot of influence with somebody because they trust you, they value your opinion, they know that they can listen to you and things will go better in their life, they start to tell their friends about you. And now it's like, oh, because so-and-so, because Timmy told me this, I trust it, and I'm okay telling you that same advice. And so now you have influence over somebody that you're not even in direct communication with, right? So they may refer a friend to you, and now you're in direct communication with that friend, or your words resonate so well. Like, I never talked to Jesus while he was on earth, but I'm still following scripture. That's influence expanding beyond your direct circle. You can argue that his direct circle was his 12 disciples, and it expanded a lot beyond them, like billions of people beyond them, right? And so that's what true influence does. It just spreads because it's truth, it's wisdom, and it's having unimpeachable character that people can follow, right? And that's what Jesus was. Best picture of influence I've seen. He's influenced many people beyond his death, and yeah, it's just really cool stuff. So just know that influence, A, grows over time, and it expands beyond your direct circle, primarily through word of mouth or through your influence really affecting others, and then they go impact other people's lives because of how you touch theirs. Also, key to note that relationships are at the core of influence. So Jesus spent a lot of time with the 12 disciples before he really started spreading influence through the 12 disciples, right? Like, before they went off and did their own ministry, they spent a lot of time with Jesus. And Jesus would have these really intense moments with people where relationships can be built over time, for sure, with very activities that lack intensity, right? Or you can have activities of extreme intensity, and then now you have a moment where you bond. And so all those moments where Jesus turned water to wine, everybody who experienced that probably felt a little bit closer to Jesus. And then all those one-on-one moments where it was like, you are healed. Your faith has made you whole. Go on and sin no more. Like, those were moments of intense relationship where it's like that woman was struggling for 12 years and now she's healed. She probably feels a little bit closer to Jesus, and her faith has been reinforced. And so just seeing how Jesus walked through the world and how relational he was, both with his disciples, with God, with the people he was serving. And I really think there was this one moment where he was on the way to, was that the bleeding woman story? He was on the way to save some high official's daughter, and he stopped in that moment to heal somebody else, and he ended up healing the daughter too. Regardless, I can't remember the specifics of the story, but he would stop everything he was doing to pay attention to you. That was kind of the point of that story to me. Even though he was going to save the daughter of somebody really important, and it was a 2 days walk, and he really needed to walk as quickly as possible, he would stop. He would focus on you, because he leaves the 99 for the one. But I'm not here to preach. I'm here to give you guys a little bit more about these 8 factors that improve your influence, and Jesus is just great at influencing people. I think another one is character. Character is key, and when you think of people with high character, you think of like, or let's just go on one aspect of character. Like, it's easy to follow a football coach that has good leadership potential, or it's easy to follow Martin Luther King, for example, because he had great character. Like, he was sacrificing himself for others. He had kind of grown up in the church. He was a pastor. He was a symbol of great character. And I didn't know him personally, but from what I understand, he also had great character. And so understanding that character is key to influence, because kind of back to what I said in the beginning, to influence people well, they have to trust you. They can't trust you if you have poor character. And they can't trust you if you communicate poorly. So you need character and you need communication, right? And Martin Luther King had great communication, and he had great character as well. Adaptability increases influence, and this is primarily because when you're able to not be selfish, basically, like when I think of being able to adapt, it's like, hey, I can mold myself to the situation and to the person, and that is because I don't have a ton of preferences. I'm not focused on me. Like, the only reason you wouldn't be adaptable is because you're set in your ways, and if you're set in your ways, it's because you're focused on you in my head. And so that influence comes with that adaptability, because you're really just loving other people. You're choosing to see other people, and you can do that for everybody because you're not worried about yourself. And you're not worried about yourself because you're secure in yourself, which probably means you either love yourself or you feel very loved from somewhere else. The other thing about influence, so we've gone through 6 of them. Character is key, communication is key. We learned that with Martin Luther King. Influence grows over time. That was my time in Young Life. It expands beyond your direct circle, and relationships are at the core of influence. We talked about Jesus there. Adaptability increases influence. We didn't have a specific story for this one, but I think you can kind of go back to the Jesus story. Honestly, he was a lot of things to a lot of people, and sometimes he was flipping tables in the church because that's how they need to be loved, and then sometimes he was defending people who were about to be stoned to death. Then other times he was calling people out for their just being wrong about what they think about the world. So adaptability increases influence. He could be a lot of different things to a lot of different people based on what they needed at the time. This also requires continuous learning. And this is important just in my own trying to influence people, and hearing Alex Hormozi say, if you want people to think you've done cool stuff, go do cool stuff. The more you learn and the more you accomplish, and learning isn't getting information, it's applying information. So it's, what did Alex Hormozi say? He said, same condition, different behavior. And so if I've learned, I can be broke right now, act differently, and get rich, right? And people would respect that. But if I'm still broke, it's hard for me to get out here and lead people, have influence over people, because they can't trust the information I'm giving them. It all comes down to that trust. Being able to influence people, have your words influence, inspire, and lead people. They need to trust you. And that requires you to continuously learn so that you always have value to bring. The final thing, you're constantly empowering others. I love doing this. I love asking people questions about what they truly want, how they can truly get there, and then what I can do to help them. And this is just, I think it's the best way to live life. And I'm really lucky because I love doing it, and it comes kind of naturally to me, but I don't think it comes naturally to a lot of people. All you have to do is step outside yourself and start asking questions. Always ask questions, and always ask questions about how you can add value. That's what we got for you guys today on the show. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you on the next one. And remember, we are a community of people judged not by our wealth, but by our impact.